All right, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio, 888-971-7243. We got a jam-packed show for you today. Jorge Bonilla of MRC Media Research Center Latino will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. The next hour, in hour two, we're going to talk about how SCOTUS allowed the Texas 6-week abortion ban to stand. I want to get into that a little bit. That's a cultural issue. A lot of arguments to be had there that I think I can help some of the conservative base with. So we'll get into that. Hey, San Francisco wants to pay criminals not to shoot people. Why didn't I think of that? In hour three, missing ballots in 3 states exceed Joe Biden's victory margin. So we're going to have Hans von Spakovsky on of the Heritage Foundation, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, as well as what each state can do to secure its own election integrity. So that should make for some good radio here today. Okay, first let me tell you guys something. I have got some exciting news for you. Sean, I don't know if you've heard this, but the border is going to be secure. The Biden administration has decided that they're going to secure the border. I cannot be more elated about it. Oh, my bad. Wrong border. Biden is helping to secure the Afghan border as unvetted migrants continue to pour into the U.S. from Mexico. So I just got the wrong border. Maybe he got the wrong border. Anyway, from the story from Fox News, the United States is helping Tajikistan secure a portion of its border with Afghanistan to help combat security threats in the region since the U.S. troop withdrawal from Kabul Monday. Despite the ongoing crisis at the U.S. border, that's seeing thousands of migrants pour into the country every day. The U.S. Embassy in Dushanbe, forgive me because I can't pronounce the word, but the U.S. Embassy in Dushanbe has launched a project to construct new facilities for a border service detachment along the Tajik-Afghan-Uzbek border. This will allow Tajikistan's border troops to deploy more quickly in response to threats in the region. The embassy made this statement in a press release Wednesday. Here's a quote from the ambassador in the region, John Palmer. The United States and Tajikistan enjoy strong security cooperation, and this border detachment project is just another example of our shared commitment to the security and sovereignty of Tajikistan and Central Asia. Oh, that is so good to know. He goes on to say the project is scheduled to break ground in early 2022. When completed, the new facility will provide housing for Tajikistan's border troops and their family members, the release said. The U.S. government has provided over $300 million in border-related security assistance to Tajikistan since 2002. So now we have our own border crisis. So I was really hoping we'd hear some good news there, but apparently not. When it comes to the Biden administration and when it comes to the Afghan surrender from the Biden administration or retreat from the Biden administration, the news just seems to get worse and worse and worse. So we do have some senators on the case. The U.S. is facing our own border crisis. So thus, a group of 26 Republican senators that are led by Senator Tom Cotton issued a letter today demanding Biden explain the vetting process for thousands of evacuees being admitted into the U.S. since the military withdrawal from Afghanistan. The questions from the GOP senators range from what steps did your administration take to verify the identities of these individuals before evacuation? What steps are your administration taking to ensure that individuals are thoroughly vetted and their identities verified before entering the United States? Representative Tom Tiffany, Republican from Wisconsin, said during a Fox News appearance on Monday that he witnessed insufficient security during his recent trip to Fort McCoy. That's an Army installation in central Wisconsin that currently houses thousands of Afghan refugees. Here's what the congressman said. You guys buckle your seatbelts. He said he was stunned to find that none of the refugees he encountered were special immigrant visa applicants who have to go through a thorough vetting process that can take up to 2 years. Rick Grinnell said, as a matter of fact, that when they vetted them under the Trump administration, they had to know for a fact there had to be serious vetting beyond that 2 years, that these people worked with Americans for at least 1 year in the region on top of that. The Tom Tiffany goes on to say they were all there on parole. The parole authority is granted to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. He can just wave people in. Now, remember what AOC said. Remember, AOC said, hey, I want 200,000 of these people brought in. I really think the Biden administration wanted to fulfill that call, if you will. At the U.S. southern border, hundreds of thousands of migrants continue to pour in the country every month. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas announced in mid-August that 212,000, basically 213,000 illegal migrants were encountered at the southern border in July. That's a 13% increase over the already massive 188,000 migrant encounters or illegal alien encounters in June. In July of 2020, there were just 40,929, which is a huge number, but significantly lower than the numbers that we're seeing currently under the Biden administration. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich raised red flags over terrorism concerns at the southern border during an appearance on Fox News Thursday, calling on the Biden administration to enforce existing immigration laws. We'll talk to Jorge Bonilla about that. Make no doubt about it, people that mean America harm are crossing the southern border. Okay, now the news continues to get better, because we all know that the Biden administration is completely competent, and we got some great audio clips for you today. So here's some news. Here's some more great news, because everything is great news with the Biden administration. Right? So it turns out that the weaponry that the Biden administration abandoned. Good news. It is now, thank God, praise the Lord. It is now out of Afghanistan. That's right. It's out of Afghanistan. The Biden administration is going an excellent job. The U.S. government funded military equipment given to the Afghan army during America's 2-decade occupation of Afghanistan. Hat tip Breitbart, by the way, has allegedly been spotted in Iran. So you see, it's all good now. It's out of Afghanistan. It's now in Iran. Yeah, they happen to be the leading state sponsor of terror in the entire world, but it's Biden. He can work with them, right? We all trust him, right? This is insane. So the U.S. government-funded military has been spotted in Iran in recent days. This, according to unverified social media photos of Al Arabiya, reported on Thursday. Several U.S. military armored vehicles, which allegedly belonged to the Afghan army before the Taliban took over the control of the country, or before Joe Biden surrendered, were spotted in Iran on Wednesday. Images were shared on social media. The Saudi news sites wrote on September 2nd. Some of the images shared on Twitter showed trucks belonging to the Iranian army transporting U.S. Humvees that were taken from Afghanistan on a highway connecting the central city of Simnan to the city of Garmsar. Anyway, we'll be back with more great news from the Biden administration.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I had with my producer prior to coming on just now, I said that either of my children could have done better, and then he said, your grandchildren, who are 10 and 5. It's hard to imagine. I think the 10-year-old could have managed it better. However, I do want to say something. I was listening to Tucker Carlson, for whom I have great respect, and he had what is the woman's name again? Lara Logan, for whom I also have great respect. And she was on, and she was saying, opposing the way in which we exited or are exiting Afghanistan does not mean that one opposes exiting Afghanistan. They're two separate issues. Well, they are. They are two separate issues. However, I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth. Okay?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Mr. President, the lying legacy media is supporting the Biden administration narrative that this is your plan, this is what you would have done. It is clear you've just communicated you had a conditions-based withdrawal plan. You would have kept Bagram. What would you be doing right now if you were the commander-in-chief? If one U.S. citizen were hurt in Afghanistan, what would your response be, and how would you use our special forces?
Well, we're in a much worse position right now than we were. When I had it, it was absolutely, we had it so locked down, we would have been able to leave so easily. And so, I mean, it would have just been a beautiful process. And then the only question was probably you bomb the bases, because why should we give those bases to others? So we would bomb the hell out of the bases, the various bases, other than Bagram, which we would have kept. But if you think about it, how can it be worse? So now it's a much more difficult position because they have thousands of hostages, American hostages. You know, Jimmy Carter had a small number of hostages. Now they have thousands of American hostages, so it's much different. I would absolutely have a plan, but I don't want to say what the plan is because I think it would be inappropriate.
But the idea that you would be taking orders from the Taliban like Joe Biden is?
Ridiculous, because I dealt with Abdul and everybody else, and we were totally in charge. And they would have never come in. They wouldn't have even tried to come into Kabul, even though Ghani, I always said he's a crook, 100% crooked.
Don't worry. Do not worry. Do not worry. The Biden administration has everything under control. I mean, that was a major accomplishment, flying 120,000 people out of Afghanistan, although a fraction of them were actually Americans. So, but that was a huge feat. Now, listen, I got to give credit to our military. Our military did the job they were told to do, and they did it effectively. But this isn't an accomplishment, folks. This is an absolute disaster. And not just America, the world is going to pay the price for this Biden administration. Every one of you that voted for Joe Biden, you should go ahead and repent, make things right. Go to electelder.com, start changing course. That's one way you could do it for those of you in California. And anywhere, go to electelder.com, electelder.com, electelder.com. Pay attention to special elections. Get Democrats out, because I'm sorry, there is no longer a Democrat party that is a moderate party. It does not exist. until Democrats really start fighting back. But so many Democrats are brainwashed now, I'm afraid, whether it's through media, whether it's through academia, that we've just, literally fallen off a cliff. There's no more slippery slope into leftism when it comes to the Democrat Party. It is long gone. But listen, the news keeps getting better under the Biden administration because, of course, they get everything under control. Biden administration had tipped Daily Wire, lost contact with thousands of migrant kids. Feds are investigating whether teen migrants were released to traffickers. The Biden administration has long touted its success in processing unaccompanied minor children through Customs and Border Protection, and more recently through Health and Human Services. But a new report from Axios indicates that the U.S. government has lost track of thousands of unaccompanied migrant children released to quote-unquote sponsors, often relatives in the U.S., which are raising questions over where those children are and whether they are actually protected. The number of child migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border has continued to set records. In March and April, thousands of unaccompanied children ended up in U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And in August, typically a quiet month for border crossings, border agents took in more than 800 child migrants in a single day, a one-day record for the Department of Homeland Security. So thousands of these children were being held in CBP custody for an extended period of time. But earlier this year, the Biden administration authorized the Department of Health and Human Services to operate temporary shelters for child migrants whose relatives or sponsors inside the U.S. could not be found. Wow. Aren't they doing a great job? As of a month ago, there were more than 14,000 kids in temporary HHS shelters per Reuters. At least one of those shelters, Fort Bliss in Texas, has been the subject of a number of whistleblower complaints alleging that children housed there are neglected, live in squalid conditions, and are suffering from depression. But the Biden administration has it all under control. But this was all predictable. Many people said it as much. I want to play a couple audio clips for you. Medal of Honor recipient Dakota Meyer. Let's play audio clip number 2, Sean.
First off, I'm not surprised by any of this. I don't think that anyone who worked with the Afghan National Army, who worked next to the soldiers, obviously the special ops side of it, those guys are still over there hammering down and fighting and trying to get a stronghold. But as far as the Afghan National Army, I don't think any of us thought that they would last 3 days after we left, right? Obviously we provided superior air support to them, and we just didn't see that. So, it's just terrible. It's terrible because, the protocol is that if I have something that, sensitive equipment that we are going to have to leave in an area where it could potentially be compromised by the enemy, we destroy it. You've seen this in a very famous mission whenever with Rob O'Neill and them going after bin Laden, they destroyed that helicopter on site before they left that. That is the protocol for us. And for us to sit here and leave all this military equipment, Blackhawks, you've got them flying around in our Blackhawks. It took them 3 days to learn how to fly our Blackhawks, right? And it's terrible that we left military equipment over there to where more people are going to die at the hands of U.S. equipment.
And then don't forget, Biden promised he would get every single American out. He would get every single one of our allies out. And supposedly he's going to go back to make sure that happens. Let's play another audio clip for you. This is a former Afghan interpreter. Audio clip number 3, Sean.
I have been in dire contact in this situation, hopelessness, and I've been reaching out to our congressional delegation and senator's office, but there's no way yet, because we are hoping things get better, but it's not. And the borders are closed right now, and the embassies are closed. They cannot get anywhere, because if they go outside, they will get exposed to outside threats. They're still waiting to see if they can find a light resource to get out, and I'm working my best here as well to see if I can get them out, if not the U.S., because they made a promise and they not kept it.
Oh, what? We made a promise, America, we made a promise to these people, Joe Biden did, and he didn't keep it. Maybe he didn't hear what Joe Biden said earlier. Maybe that's the problem. Let's play another audio clip for you. How about audio clip number 12?
What is your message to America's partners around the world who have criticized not the withdrawal but the conduct of that withdrawal and made them question America's credibility on the world stage?
I have seen no question of our credibility from our allies around the world.
Yeah. So obviously, the former Afghan interpreter is mistaken because Joe Biden has everything under control. Guys, do you realize how much this man has destroyed our credibility around the world? Leftists talk about this stuff all the time, right? Republicans, they destroy our credibility. Our credibility is shot all around the world. But the truth is, that's what Democrats do. This is why I want respect from our leaders. This is why I want tough leaders in the White House. I do not care if our leaders are liked. I want them to be respected. I want them to be able to walk into a room. I don't care if you don't like Trump, whatever. I want them to be able to walk into a room when it comes to people that are foreign diplomats, foreign allies, former adversaries, and I want them to know that our president says what he means and means what he says. Because obviously, when America isn't in charge, obviously, when America isn't on top, you can see what happens to the rest of the world. The world is in absolute chaos because we have this dementia patient in the White House. This is absolute chaos that we're seeing. For God's sakes, we can't build a border wall to protect our borders, but we're going to build a border wall in the Middle East? I mean, what sense does that make? What sense does that make? It makes absolutely no sense at all. Now, this guy has to backtrack, spend more American money, more American taxpayer dollars to try to correct, bits and pieces here and there because he destroyed us. He destroyed our reputation. This is sick. This is insane. We'll be back.
While the siege is away, enjoy the Larry Elder Show with special guest Carl Jackson.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
The Arizona Supreme Court said Tuesday that contractors hired by the state Senate to conduct the audit would not need to release the records from their review by next week. This is only a temporary delay, is what we're being told. A left-wing watchdog group, American Oversight, took its record request to the court and emerged victorious when the Arizona Court of Appeals ruled that Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based firm leading the audit, was subject to state public records law because it was performing a core government function. Arizona President Karen Fann argued the records should not be publicly released because they're maintained by private contractors, so legislative immunity applies to the documents. It is ordered extending the stay to enable the court to fully consider the issues raised in the petition for review. American Oversight's suit is not the only one leveled against the Arizona Senate. The Phoenix-based Arizona Republic newspaper sued the chamber and Cyber Ninjas on June 30th for access to the host of audit records under the same public records law. Of course, the Arizona Republic is suing. I mean, why would they be reporting? They would be suing people to try to stop the audit. The audit results are coming out soon, despite all of these legal challenges against it. We don't know what it's going to say, but I could tell you that people are very nervous that what might be implemented from, what actually might be exposed from these audit results are going to be significant. Very significant. We know that there were 72,000 more mail-in ballots received than were sent out. We know that this election was interfered with in many different ways, from the Center for Technology of Civic Life, from Mark Zuckerberg's money, and many other people.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay.
As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy, and thankfully, without any American casualties. We have seen thousands of people who have been evacuated from the airport in Afghanistan, where the United States military, doing very hard and difficult work.
It's very difficult to get all those Afghans out of Afghanistan. Again, let me read the numbers to you. This was leaked, and it's on the Federalist. We've got the whole article posted at MikeOnline.com. According to this leaked information from the U.S. State Department, the evacuation numbers, within 15-hour period of time, August 23rd, midnight to 3 p.m., the United States evacuated a total of 6,916 people. Only 483 were Americans. The vast majority were Afghan nationals, 6,425.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending.
Hey, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. Number to call into the ReliefFactor.com studios, 888-971-7243. Meanwhile, let's go to our guest, Jorge Bonilla of Media Research Latino. Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show.
Thank you so much, Carl. It's great to be back.
All right. Did you hear that standing ovation that you just got? Pretty impressive.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. I feel it.
All right, listen, a lot of things that are going on, Jorge. But first off, let me get your reaction to the your own just personal reaction to the Biden. I see it as a retreat. I see it as surrender. You know what? I don't want to put that on our troops, but this is all Biden. This is his administration. This is his fecklessness. This is his incompetence, whatever you want to call it. That's my opinion. Let me get your reaction to what we've seen take place over the last week or so.
Just look, I'm still processing it. As someone who, in a lifetime ago, lifted up his right hand and took that oath, stood before the U.S. flag and took that oath to protect our Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God, I'm still processing it because it's just waves of. It's hard to describe, Carl. It's hard to describe to see this entire botch the way it went down. When I went to boot camp, I was trained by guys who were trained by people who had just come back from Vietnam and who had served in Vietnam, and that experience was still fresh in their memories.
Right.
And there were drill instructors in my company who had survived the Beirut bombing, and that was still fresh in the collective memory as well. So several generations have gone by, and these lessons sort of fell by the wayside, which results in this disastrous withdrawal that we saw in Afghanistan. It's a point of consensus that we had to go. After 20 years, it was time. It was time to wrap things up. There's no doubt about that. But the manner in which it was handled so haphazardly, and you know, with every worst case scenario unfolding, and finally these things leading to 13 of our best bravest men and women getting blown up by a homicide bomber. It just, it's alternating grief and rage over what has happened. It's still very difficult to process.
You know what?
I just while I'm on the subject, I just want to send out love to all the families, to the Gold Star families who lost their babies last week.
You know, when you talked about the bombing, there's an article on MRC Latino bombshell. Former Deputy SecDef claims Predator drone operator ordered to stand down against Kabul airport bomber. I mean, the news with this, the news with this administration just gets worse and worse and worse. Jorge, so Univision aired a bombshell allegation. This is Univision.
Right. This is Univision, and I have to clarify. This happened over the past. This happened a little while ago. Fox News is reporting that the Pentagon denies these allegations.
Okay.
Apparently, Jennifer Griffin of Fox News asked around at the Pentagon and contacted multiple senior officers, and General McKenzie's own spokesperson got back to her and said, "Nah, this never happened." But now I guess we're going to have to find out. We have a former deputy assistant secretary of defense, who makes these claims, and we have the Pentagon now saying, "No, this never happened." But if that were true, that would have been horrible.
Let me just we only have a minute before the break, and Jorge Bonilla of Media Research Center is going to stay on with me. I know they're denying it, but just let me read excerpts from the article. Univision aired a bombshell allegation in the midst of its coverage of the U.S. disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal per former Army Green Beret and Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Roger Pardo Morrow. The Department of Defense had knowledge of the homicide bomber at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul. We'll be back with more of this after the break. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to...
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hume was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number 1.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell this guy, this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, he could talk forever and was famous for it. But you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Hat tip, Sean. There's one more thing that I just forgot to mention at the opening of the show. Biden pressured Ghani to create perception, and I know you guys have heard this, but it's still important to mention, and it's important that we don't forget this. Biden pressured Ghani to create perception that the Taliban weren't winning. So Biden pressured Afghanistan President Ashraf Ghani to create the quote-unquote perception that the Taliban weren't winning. Whether it's true or not, Biden said in a phone call just 3 weeks before the insurgents seized control of the country, a bombshell leaked transcript shows. So just imagine if that was Trump. You just imagine if Trump had done this. This guy tells, because he's corrupt, because he's a liar, he goes to another nation's leader and says, hey, just lie. It's proof positive to me that this guy doesn't care about America. He cares about himself. It's insane. Anyway, back to our guest, Jorge Bonilla of the Media Research Center Latino. And before, Jorge, we were talking about the drone operator that was told to stand down, and you said that this has since been denied by the Department of Defense. But nonetheless, if this is true, let me just read a little further, because if this were to be true, it's scandalous. And again, this has been denied by the DOD, but let me just read a couple more or a few more sentences here. So the per former Army Green Beret and Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Roger Pardo Mater, the Department of Defense had knowledge of the homicide bomber at Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, Afghanistan, and scrambled a Predator drone only to order it to stand down as it locked on its target. Per Pardo Mater, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I'm sorry. The stand-down order was given in deference to negotiations with the Taliban. I hope this isn't true, because this would be a serious black eye, as if it couldn't get any worse. But, I mean, this is just insane. So I hope it's not true, Jorge.
If true, that's a black eye, a concussion, a brain hemorrhage,
no,
you name it. That's the whole. And I suspect, I mean, I would hope that the Pentagon would deny this. I would hope so. I mean, this is the kind of thing that it's such a shocking allegation that the recoil instinct is like, oh my God, this can't be true.
Right.
It's so terrible. So I would hope to hear some kind of denial, but we'll see where this goes down the road.
Yeah, the problem
I suspect this isn't the end of the story.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. The problem is our Department of Defense under Biden's leadership has just lost so much credibility. It's just crazy. All right, so one of our fallen heroes. This is another interesting story from Media Research Center Latino, and you can go to news. Is the best place to find? Where's the best place to find Media Research Center Latino, Jorge? Is it just going to Newsbusters, or
you can do it one of two ways. You can go to newsbusters.org/Latino,
okay,
or you can go on Newsbusters and you got the tabs up there where it sends you off to the different you got free speech, you got culture, you got business, Latino, and we got a tab right there. Or you can go to mrclatino.org and find us that way. Either or.
Okay, this is this is a heart-wrenching story. But as the horrors of the past 2 weeks in Afghanistan unfolded, the media coverage of Americans' catastrophic withdrawal from Kabul took a toll not only on their viewers but also on those reporting the stories, as was the case with Telemundo anchor Ed Aranzata.
Arancha. Repeat after me. Arancha.
Okay.
There you go.
Loizaga?
There you go.
Okay, so Arancha Loizaga. Okay, good.
There you go.
All right.
You got it.
All right, perfect. In a heart-wrenching interview with Gold Star mother Corral Brazino, Loizaga, who is married to a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, led her to share the moment when her fallen son, Corporal Humberto Sanchez, decided to enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps. Jorge, I'll let you take it from there. This is a very heart-wrenching story, somewhat inspiring, but very heart-wrenching, obviously.
Look, I was gutted, and if you thought this was heart-wrenching, imagine me having to watch this video over and over as I was subtitling it and making sure that I got everything right and watching the full interview. And this is the mother. This is the Gold Star mother of one of our 13 heroes at the Kabul airport.
Corporal Humberto Sanchez.
Corporal Humberto Sanchez, a young Marine from Indiana. And she's basically describing the moment in which he enlisted to the Marines. And to make it a long story short, his mom had asked him to join the service because he was starting to act up a little bit when he was younger, and she thought that he was going down the wrong path. And she always encouraged him to join the armed forces. And Humberto told her, "What? Do you want me to die? You want me to get killed?"
Wow.
And his mom would say, "No. I know you're going to do good. You're going to do well." So he'd always say no, but when he was a high school senior, he says, "Mom, what do you got going on at 4 o'clock? And you got anything?" And she's like, "No." So come with me to this appointment. And she's telling Loizaga this, and she says, "What kind of appointment?" And that's when he tells her, "Look, I signed up in the U.S. Marines, and since I'm a minor, they're asking you to sign, and if you can come. Because that's the deal. You can enlist at 17, but your parents got to sign with you." So at 17, he enlisted. He brought his mom with him, and she thought about it, and she said to herself, "This is what I asked him to do." That was it. And at that point, he said, "Mom, I want you to be proud of me."
Oh, my Lord. Woo!
So,
all right. Wow. You
can imagine.
Yeah, that's some heart-wrenching stuff, but I gotta say that he definitely. They all did. They all did. They all died heroes. They all died doing their jobs. They all died defending this country. And I know it's got to be heart-wrenching for her. Her son is no doubt a hero. We'll be back with more of Jorge Bonilla from the Media Research Center Latino.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that that would be some positive PR win for the United States should be fired, because that's a huge, huge propaganda win for the Taliban. And now it's also put us in the practical position on the ground of being entirely dependent on the largesse of the Taliban to get our people out. And I guarantee you, we're going to leave thousands of people behind. And that's unacceptable for the United States of America.
Congressman Gallagher, I'd like to point to two lies. The first lie is that we were obliged to leave by May 1. The Taliban broke the agreement at least as early as March, when they attacked forward operating base Chapman and wounded 7 Americans. So they violated the agreement. We're already beyond the May 1 deadline. There is no agreement, and there is no need to go. Secondly, there's a terrorist threat. Every American who's been in Afghanistan, including you, has been under a terrorist threat whenever they have been there. We've got 6,000 of our finest Marines in the 101st Airborne. I know I don't want any of them hurt either. But what do you make of those two arguments that we've already extended the deadline and we're under a terrorist threat?
Well, of course, the Doha agreement was conditions-based, and one of the conditions was that the Taliban not allow al-Qaeda to operate from their territory, and of course they did. I believe even the UN pointed that out at one point, and if you don't think that's true, then there's evidence in the form of the fact that we've killed al-Qaeda operatives on Afghanistan soil.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
This is the left, and we've heard this so many times, that the word is fluid for the Constitution. Oh, it's fluid, it changes in meaning, so there's no real specific definition. Well, that's not true. The hallmark of our Constitution is not just separation of powers, but limited specific powers. And so on the federal level, the Biden administration and the executive branch and even Congress are limited to the specific enumerated powers that are given in the United States Constitution. Our 9th and 10th Amendment reserve all powers that are not enumerated to the states and to the people. So that doesn't mean then that the states are just unlimited in their authority either. And so
Hey, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio is 888-971-7243. 888-971-7243. On the line with me is Jorge Bonilla of Media Research Latino. All right, we have some good news, Jorge. It looks like the polling for the Biden administration is starting to take a dip. This is starting to wake people up big time. And the decline, his approval rating is starting to decline seriously among or in blue states. What are you hearing? What are you hearing about this? What are you hearing in the Latino community and Latino media? What are you hearing about this Biden administration, his polling, also the borders? What are you hearing about that as well, the border crisis that remains?
The border crisis is ongoing. That's still happening. There's still people trying to come into the country and coming into the country, and there's caravans forming in Central America.
I was just about to ask you that. One of our producers, William Kirby, sent me. I was trying to find the article, but would you expand on that? I can't find it now, but I couldn't believe that more caravans are forming.
There's another caravan that's trying to make its way in here, but they're mostly getting broken up in Mexico.
Okay.
The Mexican government is cracking down, but they are trying their hardest to make their way up here. You don't see, as far as the polling goes, you don't see much of that reported in Latino media. Remember, that they still have a vested interest in Biden looking good and looking strong, and
Very good
in order to push their agenda through, whether it be Green New Deal, whether it be immigration, climate, infrastructure, so they can stuff immigration into that too, whatever have you, all these things. But anecdotally, when I speak to people within the community, they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that things were going to be this bad with Biden." And you see some of that spillover, and you see that spilling over into the recall, where I'm looking at media, and you see more and more stories that suggest a collective freakout within the left.
We got about 30 seconds left, Jorge.
Yeah, I mean, the left's freaking out that Latinos might be pushing this recall. So these are the things that you don't see in Spanish language media.
Wow, good stuff. I mean, that's encouraging to hear. I pray to God that Elder can pull it off. So first recall Gavin Newsom and then elect Elder. But I mean, like everyone else, Latinos want jobs and security, right, Jorge?
We want jobs, we want security, and then not walk around in streets covered in poop next to homeless camps.
All right, Jorge Bonilla, thank you for joining us on the Larry Elder Show. We'll be back on the other side.
Thanks, Phil.
No poop on the streets.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay. As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to.
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hume was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number 1.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell that this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, he could talk forever and was famous for it. But you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that that would be some positive PR win for the United States should be fired, because that's a huge, huge propaganda win for the Taliban. And now it's also put us in the practical position on the ground of being entirely dependent on the largesse of the Taliban to get our people out. And I guarantee you, we're going to leave thousands of people behind. And that's unacceptable for the United States of America.
Congressman Gallagher, I'd like to point to 2 lies. The first lie is that we were obliged to leave by May 1. The Taliban broke the agreement at least as early as March when they attacked forward operating base Chapman and wounded 7 Americans. So they violated the agreement. We're already beyond the May 1 deadline. There is no agreement, and there is no need to go. Secondly, there's a terrorist threat. Every American who's been in Afghanistan, including you, has been under a terrorist threat whenever they have been there. We've got 6,000 of our finest Marines and the 101st Airborne. I know I don't want any of them hurt either. But what do you make of those 2 arguments that we've already extended the deadline and we're under a terrorist threat?
Well, of course, the Doha agreement was conditions-based, and one of the conditions was that the Taliban not allow al-Qaeda to operate from their territory, and of course they did. I believe even the UN pointed that out at one point, and if you don't think that's true, then there's evidence in the form of the fact that we've killed al-Qaeda operatives on Afghanistan soil.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. Just real quick, President Biden's job approval is going down in blue states. This is good news. Listen, we don't know where things will be a year from now, but suffice it to say, I don't think things are going to get much better. A president has the first 100 days, and I know some people will disagree with that, but I believe it's really true that you get this very short honeymoon period where you can make a serious impact, whether it's legislation, whether it's regulation, whether it's executive orders, directives, what have you. And then after that period of time, then some of your policies or some of these policies begin to take effect. The media begins to pay attention to some things more. People that are just politically minded like myself are paying attention to this stuff, talking about it all the time. And things can go awry, or things can go well very quickly. And for the Biden administration, things are going awry really quickly. And it's simply not because he's a Democrat, it's because he's a horrible Democrat. It was a horrible pick for the Democrat Party, and unfortunately, it has literally put us all in a bind. But according to Real Clear Politics, his approval is at about 45.4%. His disapproval is at 49.4%, and this is combining several. I'm looking at several different polls here where they combine these different polls to get an average number here. But Marist poll, Rasmussen, Politico, Economist, YouGov, Reuters, USA Today, The Hill, and they combine all of these polls, and you look at this, and the Biden administration is really hurting. Biden-Harris administration, are really hurting the Democrat Party. And then you have this. Manchin warns Democrats, hit the pause button on Biden's $3.5 trillion plan. The Democrats are going to need, in order to get this thing passed, obviously they can pass it in the House, right? They've got the numbers in the House, but the Senate is a totally different story. You have, it's a 50-50 tie, and then you have VP Harris that would have to break a tie. But then if you get one person, you get Manchin, or you get Sinema in Arizona that breaks rank, then all of a sudden things are out the window. But here's what Senator Manchin is warning, and I hate to have to count on Senator Manchin, to be honest with you, but he's looking at the tea leaves. He understands what's going on. Senator Manchin said Democrats shouldn't hit pause, or should hit pause, on Biden's $3.5 trillion spending package, firing a significant warning shot at his party's top legislative priority. Manchin, during remarks this week at a West Virginia Chamber of Commerce event, pointed to concerns about, listen to this. He's listening to the people. This is exactly what Republicans are saying. Runaway inflation is his concern. Listen, we got this Delta variant of the Wuhan virus. He says coronavirus, but it's Wuhan virus. And a botched withdrawal. He says a botched withdrawal in Afghanistan to float, slowing down what is the centerpiece of Biden's economic agenda. He says, and I quote, if the country is facing what we're facing now, I would ask my colleagues and all of the Senate to hit the pause button on the $3.5 trillion. Let's sit back. Let's see what happens. We have so much on our plate. He says we really have an awful lot. I think that would be the prudent, wise thing to do. I know they're going to go nuts right now because what I said is going to all my caucus in Washington, referring to to his Democratic colleagues. But he says, but I'm thinking of it from the standpoint of where we are as a nation today. So anyway, the Biden-Harris administration are failing miserably. Democrats know it. There's infighting within the White House. So all of this stuff is getting interesting. But nevertheless, we as conservatives, liberty lovers, Republicans, libertarians, we're going to have to work hard to win in 2022 and special elections that may arise regardless, because the left is going to continue. They don't care. Biden has shown he doesn't care. All he cares about when it comes to the debacle in Afghanistan is the perception. He doesn't care about what's real. I'm not sure if he even knows what's real past 2 hours. But it is good news that even Democrats are paying attention to this guy and saying he's not exactly what we thought. Anyway, let's take a call here. Let's go to Harlan in Texas. Harlan, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You got the mic.
Oh, okay, thank you. I hope I can communicate this clearly enough to not sound like a weirdo. But I took the oath of office in '73 to join the Marine Corps, and the oath of office says, the oath to join the military says to protect the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. There is no allegiance to a person, including Joe Biden.
Sure.
The president, if he issues unlawful orders, the military is not bound to obey them. They should never have obeyed his orders to block Americans from getting into the airport.
And Harlan, I gotta, and this is something I'm going to have to ask James Carafano about that particular issue, because my understanding is, as horrible as it wasn't unlawful. But if it is unlawful, you're absolutely right. I just don't know 100% sure, and I don't want to sound like an idiot on this. But if it is unlawful, then I would agree with you, and I respect.
I don't see in any sense how any of those orders could have been lawful to leave Americans behind when that's clearly the mission they have, to protect Americans and to get them out of that country. Marines have no obligation to obey these from this demented fool who's already shown himself to be traitorous in about every way possible.
I got to tell you, Harlan, I mean, you're not saying anything that I disagree with. I'm just not clear on that legal issue, and I need to be clear behind the microphone. So I agree. I look at the situation that transpired in Afghanistan, and I sit here and listen. Even the audio of this guy basically telling the Afghanistan president at the time to lie about the perception of the Taliban. I mean, all of this stuff, in my opinion, I agree with you, is traitorous.
How in any sense can anything that Joe Biden has said be lawful? He has already proven himself to be a liar, a traitor in so many ways. And so Marines, they look at this and they say, we're not bound to obey the order. But see, a lot of people have this idea that no matter what he says, they have to obey it, and that is not the case.
Well, Harlan,
their oath.
Harlan, listen. I do appreciate the call, and I appreciate your passion. I think the guy is absolutely traitorous, no doubt. But for the sake of the show, I'm going to need clarification. I agree. Just looking at it, I sit there and say, how could this not be? But I don't know specifically when it comes to the military. So when we have James Carafano on next, I will ask him that question specifically because I understand your frustration. I don't see anything this guy has done, whether it's as far as the weaponry is concerned. From what I understand, the legal issue, whether or not he left, the weaponry behind, well, technically it was in the hands of the Afghan soldiers who then surrendered to the Taliban, and that's kind of how he gets away with it. But just for the sake of clarity, when we have James Carafano on next, I will ask that question. I appreciate your passion and service, Harlan. God bless you. We'll be back in a few. This is Carl Jackson. No worries.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that would be some positive PR win for the United States should be fired, because that's a huge, huge propaganda win for the Taliban. And now it's also put us in the practical position on the ground of being entirely dependent on the largesse of the Taliban to get our people out. And I guarantee you, we're going to leave thousands of people behind. And that's unacceptable for the United States of America.
Congressman Gallagher, I'd like to point to two lies. The first lie is that we were obliged to leave by May 1. The Taliban broke the agreement at least as early as March when they attacked forward operating base Chapman and wounded 7 Americans. So they violated the agreement. We're already beyond the May 1 deadline. There is no agreement, and there is no need to go. Secondly, there's a terrorist threat. Every American who's been in Afghanistan, including you, has been under a terrorist threat whenever they have been there. We've got 6,000 of our finest Marines in the 101st Airborne. I know I don't want any of them hurt either. But what do you make of those two arguments that we've already extended the deadline and we're under a terrorist threat?
Well, of course, the Doha agreement was conditions-based, and one of the conditions was that the Taliban not allow al-Qaeda to operate from their territory. And, of course, they did. I believe even the UN pointed that out at one point. And if you don't think that's true, then there's evidence in the form of the fact that we've killed al-Qaeda operatives on Afghanistan soil.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
This is the left, and we've heard this so many times, that the word is fluid for the Constitution. Oh, it's fluid, it changes in meaning, so there's no real specific definition. Well, that's not true. The hallmark of our Constitution is not just separation of powers, but limited specific powers. And so on the federal level, the Biden administration and the executive branch and even Congress are limited to the specific enumerated powers that are given in the United States Constitution. Our 9th and 10th Amendment reserve all powers that are not enumerated to the states and to the people. So that doesn't mean then that the states are just unlimited in their authority either. And so the federal government has absolutely no authority to tell the states what to do with respect to vaccine mandates, with respect to any of these things that infringe upon our liberty and freedom. We're no longer in a state of emergency. The state legislatures can absolutely meet and they can determine whether or not to implement some of these things if they're even constitutional, and there's a lot of reasons that they're not, but that is a specifically legislative designation. So for these executive branch officials to say, hey, we're exercising our emergency authorization, we're going to force every individual to show a vaccine passport before they can take advantage and exercise their rights with respect to going into restaurants, gyms, hotels, all of these things, that is a violation of the separation of powers. Our government is not tyrannical. They can't just decide what's best for you and me in the interest of quote unquote public safety. But this is where, Eric, the left wants to go.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in to the ReliefFactor.com studio is 888-971-7243. We'll reach out to James Carafano and try to get him on tomorrow because I understand Harlan's frustration, and I see it the same way. How could that not be unlawful? But there may be technicalities where it falls under the line of incompetence regardless of what he did. I feel like he's a traitor that should be perp walked. But whether or not it jumps that legal bridge, if you will, I'll have to ask James Carafano about that. Just a quick reminder too that people are really suffering from Hurricane Ida. Oh, and I need to thank all of you guys. You guys, with your help with Food for the Poor, we literally raised approximately $60,000. Just just unreal. Your generosity. Listen, I know everybody has their struggles in life. But anyway, from the bottom of my heart, and Food for the Poor as well, I just want to say thank you to the entire listening audience. You guys have really blessed people in Haiti, and I appreciate you stepping up to the plate. So God bless every single one of you. I just want to remind you as well, Hurricane Ida, at least 32 are dead, and then Hurricane Ida's remnants are still hitting the Northeast. So keep those people in your prayer. And if you can find a worthy, trustworthy organization, honorable organization to donate to, that is going to, get their hands and feet on the ground and do some good work in those regions, I would encourage you to open up your heart and pocketbooks to those that you trust to carry out that mission as well, regardless of Democrat, Republican. We're Americans first. And so we help out our fellow Americans. And it's as simple as that to me. Speaking of that, and I want to get to this issue of abortion really quick, because I believe this is a landmark case with the Supreme Court rejecting the abortion providers' request to stay this Texas heartbeat bill. I think it's the right move. We'll get into that shortly. And it goes beyond abortion. I believe abortion is racist, to be quite frank with you. I'll explain why shortly. But even it goes even deeper than that. I'm going to give you some arguments. I heard a Republican one time say, we need to get off of this issue. It's killing us. It's killing us. And nothing could be further from the truth if you know how to argue your point. So we'll go over a few things. But this is a story. And listen, I don't know why this story grabbed me, but actually I do know why. Because it's crazy. And so in lieu of Hurricane Ida, there's a story that appeared on the Blaze where a woman watched in horror as an alligator bit off her husband's arm during the floodwater. So this is a Louisiana woman told police that she watched helplessly as an alligator attacked her husband, who went missing after she went to seek help. So the horrific scene unfolded in Slidell, a town that's northeast of New Orleans near Lake Pontchartrain on Monday. Police said that they were called to the scene of the attack. Thanks, Sean. Police said that they were called to the scene of the attack by the victim's wife, who was hindered by problems with the 911 emergency system caused by Ida. Of course, the 71-year-old unidentified man had gone out to his shed in the backyard in order to work on damage from the hurricane. For those of you, when a hurricane hits your area, everything is down. We don't have the flooding, thank God, where I live in Florida, that they seem to have near New Orleans and in that region, because it's so extremely flat. But nonetheless, there's so much damage, debris, tree limbs, entire trees that are just down. There's a lot of cleanup to do, and it's not uncommon when these things pass through regions like this. You'll see neighbors helping neighbors and this and that. So anyway, this guy goes to his backyard. He grabs his tools to start cleaning up debris, and I'm assuming there must have been still water. The city, his street, whatever, must have been submerged. And so this guy goes out to his shed, and before he knows it, his wife hears commotion from upstairs, and then she peeks out, and this guy, an alligator, is attacking her husband, grabs his arm, literally rips off the arm. The wife runs down the stairs. This is a crazy story. She went downstairs. Once she heard the commotion, she opened up the back door, saw that he was obviously getting attacked, and then just basically she was forced to sit there and watch the alligator rip off her husband's arm. So she tried to do her best to fend off the alligator. You talk about bravery. And then when the alligator finally released her husband, she pulled him up the steps a little bit. So I'm assuming there were some steps maybe attached to the house leading to the back of the house. I'm assuming it's the back of the house. Maybe it's the front. I don't know. Doesn't specify. But anyway, so she sets him on the steps. She has no cell phone coverage. They're submerged in water, their neighborhood. So she sets him up on the steps. She has to get in their boat, row to go get help. So she gets in her boat. She rows to go get help. When she returns with police officers, with deputies, her husband is nowhere to be found. And they said blood was everywhere. I'm sure his arm was gushing like crazy. But beyond that, I'm assuming the alligator came back. This is a horrible story. I feel so horrible for this lady. But man, it's just this is an extreme reminder of, good Lord, of just how when nature takes its course, how dangerous things can be and things can get. Okay, so now moving on to this issue of abortion. And by the way, the number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. And didn't you tell me, Sean, I forgot all about this, but Nancy Pelosi refused to allow one of our congressmen to read the names of the fallen soldiers on the House floor. Is that correct? This is this lady is evil. You guys seriously think about it. So our fallen heroes, the Democrat leader, for all of you listening that are Democrats, that voted for Democrats, I want you to understand their leader, and they fall right in line. They listened to Nancy Pelosi. So she did not allow the names of our 13 fallen heroes to be entered into the record books. Are you serious? Are you serious? Guys, 2022 is around the corner. This lady is evil. She is vitriolic. Remember, this was the woman, even during the lockdowns, going out and getting her perm done while no one else, unmasked, all that kind of stuff, while the rest of you in California are losing your incomes, homes, and you're not free to roam around. This lady is a disgrace. Get rid of her.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to.
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hume was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number 1.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and he could talk forever and was famous for it, but you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. Number to call in, 888-971-7243. Just real quick, the latest update with Hurricane Ida. At least 9 are dead in New York after some flash flooding. Sadly, a man 50 years old and his child that was 2 years old apparently died in their basement. So more just sad and horrendous stories that unfortunately will likely continue to emerge, and we'll keep you up to date on that. But just remember to pray for these people in any way you can. Obviously, we can't be there, but if you know any reputable organizations that can lend a helping hand, please search for those and do that. Our fellow Americans are in need. All right, so actually, you know what? Before I get to this issue with the Supreme Court, I want to mention this about Larry Elder, because you guys heard George Soros has donated basically $1 million to the recall election effort. So let me just go through this real quick. Billionaire philanthropist George Soros, who funds progressive drives and causes worldwide, donated another $500,000 to a political action committee opposing the recall of Greasy Gavin Newsom. This brings his total up to $1 million. Filings with the California Secretary of State's office shows that Soros's latest contribution was to a group called the Stop the Republican Recall of Governor Newsom, was made on Monday, August 30th. It was his third gift to the PAC thus far, following a pair of $250,000 donations. So obviously, they're a little worried. They're a little concerned. ElectElder.com, ElectElder.com, ElectElder.com. You guys can ballot harvest too. Those of you that are voting for Elder, if the voting goes on beyond September 14th, guess what? Get some people out beyond September 14th. This guy, George Soros, bought and paid for our last local district attorneys right here in Orlando, Florida. This is what this guy does, and they're social justice warriors, both of them. The first one, Aramis Ayala, I forget the name of the one that's currently in office, but she would no longer prosecute death row cases, so hardened criminals that had killed people and all this kind. She just wouldn't do it. At the time, Senator Rick Scott was then Governor Rick Scott, and he basically ruled over her in some cases, but it just got insane. This lady did not want to prosecute crime. It was absolutely ridiculous. We have someone else in there now that kind of has the same mantra. I don't think she is as far left, but I could be wrong. I haven't checked out her record as much as I paid attention to Aramis Ayala's. The good thing for Floridians is you can carry a concealed carry permit, and there are a lot of people who do so in Florida, in the Orlando area. So we have that protection, but we have seen crime in our blue cities run by blue cities rising. Orlando, Miami, so on, etc. So Soros has been everywhere. This guy is a complete nutter. All he does, I don't know. All he does is go around and pay and funnel money to candidates who ultimately want to fundamentally transform America. That seems to be his drive. I mean, I know he destroyed the economies in some places to become extremely wealthy. It seems like he's going for more here. It's like he wants chaos for whatever reason. The guy is just an evil, bored guy, I guess, with nothing to do. I assume with this type of mentality, he must be an atheist. I don't know that for a fact, but I assume because this stuff doesn't make sense. The article goes on to say, of course, voters will decide on September 14th, but the Associated Press reported under the state rules, Newsom alone is allowed to raise money in unlimited amounts, while the other candidates must adhere to contribution limits. So electelder.com, electelder.com, electelder.com. I don't have enough time before we go to the break, but once we get back from the break in just a minute here, I'll play you an audio clip of Larry Elder being Larry Elder as he mocks greasy Gavin Newsom, I think in a timely fashion. But the bottom line is, guys, if you want freedom, you have to fight for it. It's as simple as that. I think so many times as Americans, as conservatives, as patriots, we assume everything is okay or everything will be okay. And I think what this presidency has shown us more than probably more than ever before in our lifetimes, at least, is that freedom isn't free, and we have to fight for it in every election, local, state, and nationwide. It's as simple as that. We just have to fight for freedom. Okay, let me talk to you about Pure Talk USA. Last month, an absolute landslide of you made the switch to Pure Talk. You were chained to overpriced unlimited plans from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, then finally decided to make the switch because you know that Pure Talk saves the average family over $800 a year without having to sacrifice coverage. Friends, if you haven't yet made the switch to Pure Talk, this is the easiest decision you'll make today. You can keep your phone, keep your number, or get huge discounts on the latest iPhones and Androids. Get unlimited talk, text, and 6 gigs of data for just $30 a month. Or if you still want unlimited data, you can get that and still save a fortune. Experience why Pure Talk is the highest rated wireless company by Consumer Affairs, whether the preferred wireless partner of AMAC. From your cell phone, dial pound 250 and say Larry Elder, and you'll save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250, say Larry Elder. Pure Talk is simply smarter wireless.
Now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay. As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy, and thankfully, without any American casualties. We have seen thousands of people who have been evacuated from the airport in Afghanistan, where the United States military doing very hard and difficult work.
It's very difficult to get all those Afghans out of Afghanistan. Again, let me read the numbers to you. This was leaked, and it's on the Federalist. We've got the whole article posted at MikeOnline.com. According to this leaked information from the U.S. State Department, the evacuation numbers, within 15-hour period of time, August 23rd, midnight to 3 p.m., the United States evacuated a total of 6,916 people. Only 483 were Americans. The vast majority were Afghan nationals, 6,425.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
In terms of dedication to helping America, there's no comparison between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump really, really, really wanted to help America. Joe Biden does not. That's Biden, and that's Afghanistan, and that's the conservatives. Now Biden, which we would not have if we had a Republican president. Yes, every one of you businesses in America, you must not allow people who are not vaccinated, even if they've had COVID and are probably better, in a better medical position not to transmit or get the disease. Everybody has to.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. We're coming to you live from the ReliefFactor.com studio. Listen, the Supreme Court rejected an abortion provider's request to stay Texas heartbeat law. Hat tip for Gatman. The Supreme Court declined to stay a Texas law that banned most abortions after 6 weeks in a 5-4 decision on Thursday. This is extremely important. This is important for the rule of law, even if you're one that's pro-abortion or whatever, for abortion. This is important for law. I'll get into why, and for culture. I'll get into why. The ruling comes 24 hours after the Texas law went into effect on Wednesday morning, banning abortions in almost all cases after cardiac activity is detected, basically a heartbeat, in the unborn child. The court's decision sets up a potentially historic win for the pro-life movement because it'll overturn Supreme Court precedents that were set in 92 in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and obviously Roe v. Wade is the big dog that everybody talks about. Texas is not the first state to enact this type of legislation that is known as a heartbeat law, but the Texas case is the first to avoid a stay preventing the law from taking effect. This is really, really clever how Texas pulled this off. The Supreme Court decided in a narrow decision against granting relief to a group of abortion providers in the state. Chief Justice John Roberts joined his homies on the liberal side in dissenting. The court's conservative majority, I hate that they say conservative, it's really constitutional. The court's constitutional majority rejected the abortion provider's request because of the law's enforcement mechanism, which separates it from heartbeat laws passed in other states. So the law, here's what the law does. This is so smart. The law deputizes private citizens, granting them the standing to file lawsuits against violating abortion providers rather than authorizing state agents to police them. So this is very smart. They put the power back in the people's hands. So these abortion providers, anyone that aids and abets abortion providers, can be can be sued by civilians. I mean, this is brilliant strategy. I mean, this isn't conclusive, but this, at least for now, the state of Texas was granted a stay, so it's effective as of law. I believe as of yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. It says here the court dismissed the request, which names every state court judge and clerk as defendants based on procedural grounds. It is unclear whether, and I quote here, this is from who? Anyway, here's a quote here. It doesn't say from who. It is unclear whether the named defendants in this lawsuit can or will seek to enforce the Texas law against the applicants in a manner that might permit our intervention. Okay, so this is a quote from SCOTUS themselves. This is from the ruling. The state has, and I quote, represented that neither it nor its executive employees poses or possesses the authority to enforce the Texas law either directly or indirectly, nor is it clear whether under existing precedent this court can issue an injunction against state judges asked to decide a lawsuit under Texas's law. The court was also careful not to suggest that it made a decision on the constitutionality of the law. I wish they would have been clear about that. They did not do that. In reaching this conclusion, we stress that we do not purport to resolve definitively any jurisdictional or substantive claim in the applicant's lawsuit. In particular, this order is not based on any conclusion about the constitutionality of Texas's law and in no way limits other procedurally proper challenges to the Texas law, including in Texas state courts. The Texas law allows citizens to sue abortion providers and those, again, who aid and abet illegal procedures for a financial reward if the lawsuit is successful. This will leave some of these people shaking in their boots. But don't worry, ladies, for those of you that live in Texas that would like to kill your babies, you can drive elsewhere to do it. Usually a lawsuit aiming to block such a law, the article goes on to say, as unconstitutional, names state officials as defendants, but instead the Texas law deputizes the private citizens. I love this. They got smart. Republicans, it's time to get smart. Now, VP Kamala Harris had a few things to say about it. She released a statement, and I'm going to react to this. So VP Harris released a statement in reaction to the Texas abortion law that went into effect, asserting that it will, quote, dramatically reduce access to reproductive care for women of color. She ultimately joined Biden and other left-wing politicians, promising their fight for every woman's ability to abort their child. Why is it that white women are not inconvenienced by us conservatives? You white liberal women should be offended by that. Harris's quote, today, a new law takes effect in Texas that directly violates the precedent established in the landmark case Roe v. Wade. This all-out assault on reproductive health effectively bans abortion for the nearly 7 million Texans of reproductive age. But they're not trying to reproduce anything. But it's amazing. The left knows how to use language. Eventually, we repeat the language, and the left eventually wins the argument. We got to get Michael Knowles on here from Daily Wire. He talks about this in his book Speechless, by Regnery Publishing, by the way, so you guys can get that. Patients in Texas will now be forced to travel out of state, carry their pregnancy to term against their will. God forbid. This law will dramatically reduce access to reproductive care for women in Texas, particularly for women with low incomes. And again, it's that women of color thing. Why do they keep saying women of color? Why is this so important to them? Harris, who reigned as one of the most left-wing Democrats during her time in the U.S. Senate, continued. It also includes a disturbing provision that incentivizes private citizens to sue anyone who assists another person in receiving an abortion. So on the other side, I'm going to talk to you about this theory that I have. Ladies, this is going to sound gross, but if you close your legs, you'll watch morality spread. I'll talk about it next.
listening now to The Charlie Kirk Show.
How is it possible that Joe Biden let this happen? Was this intentional? Did he want our enemies to have it? It's hard to believe that incompetence could possibly let this happen. Jake Sullivan, the highly unimpressive person who's never done anything useful in his life, says we don't have a complete picture, obviously, of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. And obviously, we don't have a sense that we're going to be ready to hand it over to us at the airport. The Taliban now has the 26th largest air force in the world with 0 pilots. 600,000 weapons, 75,000 vehicles, 200 total aircraft, and $85 billion in total weapons. 110 helicopters, 60 transportation cargo airplanes, 20 light attack airplanes, and 18 intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance airplanes. The Taliban now has more Black Hawk helicopters than Australia. And this is all on our government. This is all on Joe Biden, who now wants praise, who says, this was a perfect withdrawal. Are you kidding me? Cut 59, Jen Psaki says that the Afghanistan effort is a success. It's on track to be the largest airlift in U.S. history.
Say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Anything but a success.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
I think this is a crisis that we haven't faced since 9/11. I think it's worse than 9/11 because we ran towards the danger and tried to save people, then now we're abandoning them. Is the president going to stick with this?
It seems like the president is doubling down. And what is shocking to me, we had a brief with Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, General Milley, etc. And there was very strong bipartisan pushback on the August 31st deadline. In fact, some of the strongest statements
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. We have a very short period of time before the break, so I'm going to start on this topic, and I'll have to revisit it after my guest, because at the top of the hour, we're going to have Hans von Spakovsky. Man, that is a mouth. Hans von Spakovsky of the Heritage Foundation. We're going to get into these election shenanigans because it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane what's going on. And he's found that basically 3 states, missing ballots in 3 states exceed Joe Biden's victory margins. I do believe it is important for us to get this correct so we make the corrections needed going forward. But this from blackgenocide.org. Did you know that abortion accounts for 61% of black deaths in America? It's one of the reasons why I say abortion is racist, not to mention, and you'll have to go do your own research, but just research Margaret Sanger of Planned Parenthood, how this lady wanted to get rid of undesirables and weeds and black people among them. That's what this stuff, this is the heritage of abortion in America. But ladies, before I went to the break, I said, listen, close your legs and watch morality spread. Women don't know how much pro-abortion women or pro-choice, whatever you want to call them, women that support abortion, you don't realize how much damage you do to your cause, to your feminist cause, because you don't consider the male-female dynamic. There is only 2 sexes, by the way, biological sex. There are male and female. Everything else are people that seriously need counseling, need love from their parents, and maybe some type of therapy or what have you. But it's just male and female, just so that's clear. But I don't say close your legs and watch morality spread to be gross. You don't realize the power that you have. You don't have to be this feminist tough woman that's, oh, I am woman, hear me roar, toxic masculinity, all men are dogs, all men are this and that. No. Women have such power and authority they don't even realize it, just by being good, decent, wholesome women and being women that men want. Is that bad to say nowadays? But here's what abortion does. This is just a cultural issue, and I'll dive in deeper on the other side. But abortion empowers players, not women. It's a funny thing, but when you become so obsessed with one particular issue, with one particular sex, without considering the other, you do damage. See, what women have done and what pro-choice women have done is told men, you know what, guys? You don't have to grow up. I'm cool with you acting like little boys forever and ever and ever. Women, you're damaging men and you're damaging your cause. We'll be back on the other side with Hans von Spakovsky.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
In terms of dedication to helping America, there's no comparison between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump really, really, really wanted to help America. Joe Biden does not. That's Biden, and that's Afghanistan, and that's the conservatives. Now Biden, we would not have if we had a Republican president. Yes, every one of you businesses in America, you must not allow people who are not vaccinated, even if they've had COVID and are probably in a better medical position not to transmit or get the disease. Everybody has to get a vaccination. We've been lying to you, we on the left, since Roe v. Wade. The government should not interfere with our bodies. It has been a total lie on the part of the left. It was a bull-ass excuse to defend abortion at any time of pregnancy. Nothing they say they mean. It is what is said by the left is said in order to further their agenda, whatever the agenda might be. They do not believe people are in control of their bodies. But in the name of safety, you can force people to do that. Canada, you can't even fly if you didn't get inoculated. Canada is not a free country. Canada does not have free speech. Canada does not have free ability to even travel.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
I would say that this is now on track, Peter, to be the largest airlift in U.S. history. And that is bringing American citizens out. It is bringing our Afghan partners out. It is bringing allies out. So no, I would not say that is anything but a success.
Okay. As the kids would say, OMG. Yeah, we have an extensive vetting process. Sure we do. I've been to the border, lady. No, you don't. No, you don't. But again, back to Kamala Harris. There she is trying to escape this mess by hiding out in Singapore. But there are reporters there, too.
To that end, we have seen a successful drawdown of the embassy.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I would like my fellow conservatives, the majority of whom wanted to leave Afghanistan, to be as intellectually honest as I demand the left is. You must say, I am for the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. If you do not say that, you are a conservative who is not being honest. You cannot say, I am for leaving Afghanistan, but I am against the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. Then you are deluding yourself, and a conservative should never do that. That should be the monopoly of the left. It's equivalent to men give birth, okay? To deny that the Taliban, that you are giving Afghanistan over to the Taliban if you leave.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home, home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to...
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But there are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hume was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number 1.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell this guy, this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, he could talk forever and was famous for it. But you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Oh, no Hans yet, huh? All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, as we wait for Hans von Spakovsky of the Heritage Foundation. Again, okay. All right, I don't know what's up with my screen. All right, Hans, welcome to the Larry Elder Show.
Carl, it's great to talk to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just a quick background, Hans von Spakovsky is an authority on a wide range of issues, including civil rights, civil justice, the First Amendment, immigration, the rule of law, and government reform, and a senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation's Edwin Meese III Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. So just so the audience knows who you are, Hans, listen, you've written some great stuff in regards to election integrity, but this piece at Breitbart recently caught my eye where you stated that missing ballots in 3 states exceed Joe Biden's victory of margin. So give us a quick synopsis on that, if you will.
Sure. Every 2 years, the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, which is a federal agency, files a report with Congress. And one of the reports they file is on election results in every single state. And one of the things they total up is how many absentee ballots did each state send out, mail-in ballots, and what happened to them.
Right.
And when you look through that report for the entire country, it turns out that 15 million ballots that they sent out were what they say unaccounted for. What that means is that election officials don't know what happened to them. They handed them to the U.S. Postal Service to mail to the voters who'd requested them, and then they disappeared. You know, they never came back. They don't know if did the voters get them and then just decide not to vote. Did the voters actually fill out the ballot, put it in the mail, but then it got lost and didn't get there? We don't know what happened to them. And when you break it down by state, you find that, for example, in Wisconsin, remember Wisconsin, President Trump lost it by 20,000.
Correct.
Wisconsin reports that they don't know what happened to 82,000 ballots that were sent out to voters. We've got similar.
Astonishing.
Yeah, it is astonishing. We have similar problems in other states. Arizona, for example. Remember, Biden won that state by only a little over 10,000 votes, yet just in Maricopa County alone, they lost track of 110,000 ballots that they mailed out and never got back. Same thing in Nevada. Remember Nevada, Biden won by about 34,000 votes. Clark County sent out 93,000 mail ballots that disappeared. So, you know, that shows you one of the big problems with mail-in balloting, which everybody on the left is pushing for. They want it more and more. You're seeing this, Carl, right, in California, right, for the recall election. They've actually mailed out an absentee ballot to every single registered voter in the state, despite the fact that the voter registration list in California is notorious for being in bad shape because California doesn't take off the names of people who've moved or died. So you know what that means. That means absentee ballots are piling up, for example, at apartment complexes, just sitting there for people who don't live there anymore.
See, and I was under the assumption, Hans, that California had did things correctly in the November election. I mean, obviously, I always believe when it comes to mail-in ballots, there's some type of cheating going on, but they got the votes in on time and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, this is a major issue, and none of these ballots are requested ballots. We're just talking about mass mail-outs. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on the state. In some states, they just simply mailed the ballots out. But in other states, no, the voters requested the ballots and then, for whatever reason, didn't send them back. Look, the big problem in California is there's no ID requirement. So that means that if somebody can pick up absentee ballots that are unused in an apartment complex. Look, you can fill them out, sign them, send them back. And, Carl, what do you think the chances are that somebody in an election office out there is actually going to try to compare the signature to the signature of the voter on file and say, oh, that's not the signature? You and I both know the vast majority of these ballots are going to get in. You probably saw the story, right, a week ago?
Sure.
A guy was arrested in California. They found him in his car asleep. He's a felon, and they found drugs and other things in his car. But the other thing they found were 300 absentee mail-in ballots for the recall election, and nobody has any idea where the heck he got them.
Wow. Yeah, this is absolutely insane. Listen, obviously, in my opinion, anyway, this isn't Hans von Spakovsky speaking. This is Carl Jackson. But in my opinion, Democrats want to keep this gravy train of COVID going as long as they can. I think they'd keep it all the way through 2022 and 2024 if they could. Are Republicans fighting hard enough on this issue, nationwide, statewide, or can you share some examples with us, perhaps, I hope, of Republicans saying we need to do away with mail-in voting? I just don't think that it should exist, except for those that are disabled, vets overseas, and maybe that's it. Your take on that, Hans?
Well, Texas got into a big fight because Texas is actually one of the remaining states where, just like what you just said, you need an excuse to use an absentee ballot. You got to be disabled or you got to be overseas. And, Texas was sued last year by the ACLU and others saying, well, because of COVID-19, you can't do that. You've got to let anybody use an absentee ballot. Texas fought that and won. And in the reform bill, they just this week passed a big reform bill that's now on the desk of the governor, Greg Abbott, and I'm sure he's going to sign it. And one of the things they've done, and this is what every state ought to do, is Texas has a voter ID law. It's been in place now for a number of years, very successfully. Nobody's had any problem voting with it. But it only applies to in-person, and they're going to extend it to absentee ballots.
I think we lost Hans. Anyway, we will get him back, and we'll come back to Hans. While we do, Sean, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can. All right. I don't know what happened, but for some reason. Okay. All right. So go ahead and continue what you were discussing regarding Texas there, Hans.
What Texas has done in their election reform bill, which they just passed this week, it's now on the desk of Greg Abbott, the governor who's expected to sign it. They extended their good voter ID requirement for in-person voting to absentee balloting. And that is, it's not a perfect system, but that's one way of trying to cut down on the fraud that is associated with absentee ballots. They also, by the way, don't allow something that California, legalized a couple of years ago. It used to be illegal in California, and that's what people call vote harvesting or vote trafficking.
Right.
California now allows anybody to show up at a voter's home and say, hey, I'll deliver your ballot. And, of course, that is a very foolish policy because what you're doing is you're telling candidates, campaign staffers, party activists, and political consultants, you're giving them the ability
it's totally
to go to people's homes, pick up their ballots, and maybe they'll deliver it, maybe they won't if they know you vote for the other candidate.
Hans, we're coming up on a break. Do you have time to stick with me through the break, or do you need to go?
No, unfortunately, I can't tonight. I've got to go.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to come back on again another time.
All right, sounds good. Hans von Spakovsky of the Heritage Foundation. We'll be back. Yeah, he did.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
General
that power.
McMaster and Secretary Esper are blaming you for the Doha agreement. They're saying that you empowered them. What do you make of these criticisms from General McMaster, who was your second national security advisor, and Secretary Esper?
Yeah, these are two guys. You know, I had great people in my administration, but those two were stiffs. McMaster was not a smart guy. All he liked doing was talking to the press, and I rarely listened to him, and then ultimately fired him. And Jesper, I called him Jesper because all he did was say yes. Jesper was like a little boy. All he did was say yes. No matter what you asked him, he was a lightweight. And honestly, should not have been in that position. We were rushed because there was a difficulty with a good man who was in there prior to him. He had some family difficulty. And I gave Jesper a try and put him in there for a short period of time. He didn't have what it takes. The men didn't respond. The men and women, the people within the military, did not respect him. And McMaster, all he did was like to write things and write books and complain, and he wasn't a smart person. Just so you understand, they're complaining about the agreement that I just talked about with you, which had strong conditions. And when the reason, as an example, I wanted to be out as soon as possible. We had to get out strong with all our equipment and no death. The reason nobody was killed in the last 18 months was because of what we did. Beyond the agreement was because of the relationship I developed with the leaders, and in particular with Abdul.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
This is the left, and we've heard this so many times, that the word is fluid for the Constitution. Oh, it's fluid, it changes in meaning, so there's no real specific definition. Well, that's not true. The hallmark of our Constitution is not just separation of powers, but limited specific powers. And so on the federal level, the Biden administration and the executive branch and even Congress are limited to the specific enumerated powers that are given in the United States Constitution. Our 9th and 10th Amendment reserve all powers that are not enumerated to the states and to the people. So that doesn't mean then that the states are just unlimited in their authority either. And so the federal government has absolutely no authority to tell the states what to do with respect to vaccine mandates, with respect to any of these things that infringe upon our liberty and freedom. We're no longer in a state of emergency. The state legislatures can absolutely meet, and they can determine whether or not to implement some of these things if they're even constitutional, and there's a lot of reasons that they're not, but that is a specifically legislative designation. So for these executive branch officials to say, hey, we're exercising our emergency authorization, we're going to force every individual to show a vaccine passport before they can take advantage and exercise their rights with respect to going into restaurants, gyms, hotels, all of these things, that is a violation of the separation of
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. The number to call in, 888-971-7243. 888-971-7243. Yeah, California is crazy. I'm going to have to get Hans back on. He wrote an article several months ago, and I was trying to find it while he was on air, but we'll have him back and discuss it. But basically, he gave an outline of what every state could do to make sure your elections are secured. So I'll search for that later this evening and perhaps maybe put it on Facebook, my Facebook page, Carl Jackson Radio, Twitter at Carl Jackson Show, and try to put that up because every state, red state, needs to make sure that there's election integrity, plain and simple. We have to get rid of this cheating. Those of you those of you, there was an article published a few days ago by Bloomberg, and basically they were saying, listen, if Larry Elder wins California, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm paraphrasing here, but it was written by Bloomberg, so this isn't exactly a right-wing hit piece, right? I mean, it's Bloomberg. So they were saying one of the things, and obviously they took a couple of digs at Elder, as you would expect from a more liberal rag, but the article was decent nonetheless. And basically, this columnist even admitted Democrats in California get away with murder because they don't have to be held accountable even by fellow Democrats because of the voting system and how it's so jacked up. I was shocked to read it. And this person said basically, if I recall correctly, that we need a two-party system even in California, because a two-party system, even though this person leaned to the left, keeps the Democrat Party honest when there's fair debate. And that's an effective point. If Democrats win all the time just by cheating, they can't win based upon the merit of their ideas. You really don't have a representative democracy, if you will, where all people are participating, and yet they're choosing representatives. If they can just cheat, they make it a one-party system. This is why California is in shambles, because Gavin Newsom, he chills with his people at the French Laundry. They all just live in this bubble. They speak the same language. They have the same dumb ideas. And so when reality smacks them in the face that it's hypocritical to tell other businesses to shut down while you keep yours open, to tell to restaurants to shut down, while this one, the French Laundry, that's one of the most expensive restaurants in the world, gets to stay open. Your winery stays open. You send your kid to play sports, no mask, send him to a special camp, but no one else can. This is what you get. You get people that are just power hungry. You get people that believe they're little dictators rather than governors that are working for the people and the best interests of the people. So even if you're a Democrat in California, you need to understand that you're destroying the state by allowing Democrats to be complicit in cheating, because your ideas can't rise to the top. You can't even be heard. You're creating an elitist system in California where neither Democrats or Republicans can be heard. If you have a Republican running or a Libertarian even running, and then you hear a debate and you're like, man, you know what? I never thought about that in that way. That guy's the better candidate. That girl's or that woman's the better candidate. I think I'm going to go with this person. I didn't know that. You don't even get that opportunity in California. This is why this is so huge. This is why this is monumental. You guys have an opportunity to, I'm serious, do some serious damage in California. And then I pray to God, if you do, if in fact Gavin Newsom is recalled and Elder does win, one of the first things that you guys need to do is correct your election system. The mail-in ballots are insane. Ballot harvesting is insane. You can do it now, so you may as well do it. Republicans better do it. But honestly, at some point, that thing needs to go bye-bye. Mail-in balloting, except for a specific few types of cases, needs to go bye-bye. All it does is open the window for cheating, and your voice isn't heard. Even if it's your people, like Gavin Newsom, your voice isn't heard, because he really doesn't have to be accountable to you if he knows, oh, all we have to do is cheat. And things are, I mean, we're literally, I mean, California is in the silly season. San Francisco wants to pay criminals not to shoot people. I'm thinking, if you're willing to shoot somebody, except in a case of self-defense, I mean, clear and evident self-defense, but if you're a criminal willing to shoot somebody, I'm guessing your heart is so depraved, money isn't going to matter. Larry Elder mocked Gavin Newsom over over a similar topic anyway. Let's go to audio clip 1. Sean, let the people hear what Larry Elder had to say. Do we have it? Okay. All right. Well, anyway, we'll play that audio clip for you shortly. But nonetheless, the issue, going back to the issue of Larry Elder, you guys have an opportunity of a lifetime, and I hope you can make it. I hope you can make it happen, and then I hope you make the corrections. California is such a beautiful state. You guys deserve fair representation, and to be frank with you, on either side. If a Democrat wins based upon merit and arguments, but look at Newsom. Look at Newsom. He can totally destroy the state, destroy businesses in this. I mean, people. I'm meeting people here. I kid you not. I am meeting people in Florida weekly that have moved from California. Weekly. And they're like, it was just too insane. You know, I couldn't afford this out there. I moved out here. I got this nice house, able to live in this nice neighborhood. I don't have to worry about the crime. I don't have to worry about the homelessness. I don't have to worry about A, B, C. And it's just insane. It's just insane what people will tolerate. This is why Democrats like to keep you mad, because when you're mad, you stop thinking. You don't care about results. You just care about being mad at your neighbor. We need election integrity, because it is the only way that the people will be heard, and the only way that you'll be able to keep your politicians accountable. It's really as simple as that. I still want to get into this issue with abortion, and I'm going to do. I'll do that. I'll do that after the break. Anyway, lots of arguments that I have for abortion, but again, I would say, ladies, whenever you're for abortion, you're telling men they don't have to grow up. I want to explain that, and again, I'll expound on when you close your legs. You'll watch morality spread in the culture. We'll talk about that next. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. We'll be back. 22. No worries. No worries. No worries.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Afghanistan continues to be a mess, and Americans are stranded in Afghanistan, and our government is uncertain what to do. We have some exclusive frontline updates from Afghanistan to share with you, including how private contractors and private citizens are stepping up and doing the job that our government refuses to do. And also, we're going to go into great detail all of the weapons that we have left behind in Afghanistan. And it's not just bullets and guns. It is some of the most sophisticated, top-level weaponry. We're going to get into all of that and the cost associated with it.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Jen Psaki, the pressure is getting to her, questioned by Peter Doocy, a famous clip already, cut number 11.
But does the president have a sense that most of the criticism is not of leaving Afghanistan, it's the way that he has ordered it to happen by pulling the troops before getting these Americans who are now stranded? Does he have a sense of that?
First of all, I think it's irresponsible to say Americans are stranded. They are not. We are committed to bringing Americans who want to come home. We are in touch with them via phone, via text, via email, via any way that we can possibly reach Americans to...
Jake Tapper thinks they're stranded on CNN, cut number 4.
Look, I understand that people are working long hours in the White House, the National Security Council, State Department, Pentagon, and over in Kabul to get Americans out of that country. And I understand the White House wanting to reassure the nation that all Americans will ultimately be evacuated. But There are no doubt Americans who feel stranded in Afghanistan right now.
Of course there are. It's absurd for the White House, and it tells you something about Joe Biden. Britt Hugh was on with our friend Guy Benson on his radio show yesterday, said this, cut number one.
But anybody who ever heard him speak for any length of time could tell this guy, this was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, he could talk forever and was famous for it. But you never had the sense that he was terribly smart. And on top of that, now he's manifestly senile. And between those two things, this is a man with very, very severe limitations who is well too old, in my opinion, to be the President of the United States.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Whoever in the White House decided it would be a good idea to try and get everyone out by September 11th, 2021, and thinking that that would be some positive PR win for the United States should be fired, because that's a huge, huge propaganda win for the Taliban. And now it's also put us in the practical position on the ground of being entirely dependent on the largesse of the Taliban to get our people out. And I guarantee you, we're going to leave thousands of people behind. And that's unacceptable for the United States of America.
Congressman Gallagher, I'd like to point to two lies. The first lie.
Does Gavin Newsom get below 50? And it looks like there is a very good shot that this political earthquake is real.
Well, I think you're right, Sean. It's right in the margin of error. The people that want him recalled are pretty much equal to the people who do not want him recalled. And the recall side has picked up several points over the last couple of weeks. The momentum is, as you pointed out, all on our side. As to this business about paying criminals not to shoot each other, why didn't we think of that before? Why don't we pay shoplifters not to shoplift? I mean, this is just madness. This is California, and this is the kind of stuff that Gavin Newsom has been doing. And you're quite right about him shutting down the state and in denying kids in school education while his own kids were enjoying in-person private education. And as I mentioned to you before, the last time I think I was on, Sean, nearly 80% of the kids educated in government schools are black and brown. These are the ones that the left prides itself on caring about. And 50% of third graders before the pandemic could not read at state levels of proficiency, and the math scores are even worse, even though we're spending about $15,000 per student per year. I'm going to be championing choice in education, which is why the left and Gavin Newsom have absolutely gone ballistic.
All right, that was Larry Elder, and welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. I'm your special guest host, Carl Jackson, sitting in for the great Eldersky. Listen, let's go to, I got to apologize, I don't see names on my screen, so I did not realize we had a virtually a full call board. So let's go to Vicky. She wants to talk about Larry Elder. Vicky from Northern California, welcome to the Larry Elder Show. You got the mic.
Wow. First of all, Carl, it's hard to fill Larry Elder's shoes, and you're doing a bang-up job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Give you that compliment.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm from Northern California. I am 30 minutes east of the capital, and I was born here in 1948.
Wow, okay.
My father named me Victoria to be victory in World War II.
Wow.
At 18 years old, he was on a merchant marine ship during World War II, and that was to get all the guys that were being wounded brought to a ship and taken care of. So that's my history in Northern California my entire life. And we own property in Oceanside, which is in San Diego County. So
yes.
I'm kind of up and down the state my entire life. Now,
okay.
This is where I get angry, okay? 2017, Dominion came into California as a voting mechanism machine, okay?
Okay.
The man, Gavin Newsom, never debated anyone, and he won. Explain that.
Wow.
So Dominion was in place. He never debated, including John Cox, not one debate. And he won. I always thought that was curious. Anyway,
you guys
on
didn't
to
have
the
mail-in
fires.
ballots then, did you? Did you guys have mail-in ballots then?
No, but we had the
absentee.
We had the mail-in ballots. Yes, okay, but we also had in that time frame. Okay, was when we came into all of the allowed because of COVID the second time around. So
Right.
here we are. We're stuck with him. He's stuck with us, and basically that's how I look at this. He doesn't give a dang about a Californian at all. Caldor Fires is a direct result of his refusal when Donald Trump, as president, came out here in 2017 and said, you are going to have another conflagration if you don't start doing controlled burns. And he said, oh, yeah, we will. Here we are, 2021. Now, Caldor is in a law. Right now, El Dorado County is in a lawsuit against the state of California for allowing controlled burns. I hold him totally responsible for having Grizzly Flat turned into dust like Paradise was. Okay? So, thank you so much for listening. You're not crazy. We're all crazy mad.
Hey, thank you, Victoria. I appreciate the call. I appreciate your passion. Yeah, you know what? Wow. Yeah, I mean it's tough because what cheating does is it robs you of your voice. It really does rob you of your voice. What did you say, Sean? Okay. Yeah, it robs you of your voice, and it robs you of the ability to keep these politicians accountable. Whether whether it be machines, whether it be mass mail-in voting, these are things that you guys are going to have to get in check. All states are going to have to get in check. It's just not right. We'll be back in a few. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. All right, let me ask Lou to fix the screen.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
This is the left, and we've heard this so many times, that the word is fluid for the Constitution. Oh, it's fluid, it changes in meaning, so there's no real specific definition. Well, that's not true. The hallmark of our Constitution is not just separation of powers, but limited specific powers. And so on the federal level, the Biden administration and the executive branch and even Congress are limited to the specific enumerated powers that are given in the United States Constitution. Our 9th and 10th Amendment reserve all powers that are not enumerated to the states and to the people. So that doesn't mean then that the states are just unlimited in their authority either. And so the federal government has absolutely no authority to tell the states what to do with respect to vaccine mandates, with respect to any of these things that infringe upon our liberty and freedom. We're no longer in a state of emergency. The state legislatures can absolutely meet and they can determine whether or not to implement some of these things if they're even constitutional, and there's a lot of reasons that they're not, but that is a specifically legislative designation. So for these executive branch officials to say, hey, we're exercising our emergency authorization, we're going to force every individual to show a vaccine passport before they can take advantage and exercise their rights with respect to going into restaurants, gyms, hotels, all of these things, that is a violation of the separation of powers. Our government is not tyrannical. They can't just decide what's best for you and me in the interest of quote unquote public safety. But this is where, Eric, the left wants to go.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
General
that power.
McMaster and Secretary Esper are blaming you for the Doha agreement. They're saying that you empowered them. What do you make of these criticisms from General McMaster, who was your second national security advisor, and Secretary Esper?
Yeah. These are two guys, I had great people in my administration, but those two were stiffs. McMaster was not a smart guy. All he liked doing was talking to the press, and I rarely listened to him, and then ultimately fired him. And Jesper, I called him Jesper because all he did was say yes. Jesper was like a little boy. All he did was say yes. No matter what you asked him, he was a lightweight. And honestly, should not have been in that position. We were rushed because there was a difficulty with a good man who was in there prior to him. He had some family difficulty. And I gave Jesper a try and put him in there for a short period of time. He didn't have what it takes. The men didn't respond. The men and women, the people within the military, did not respect him. And McMaster, all he did was like to write things and write books and complain, and he wasn't a smart person. Just so you understand, they're complaining about the agreement that I just talked about with you, which had strong conditions. And when the reason, as an example, I wanted to be out as soon as possible. We had to get out strong with all our equipment and no death. The reason nobody was killed in the last 18 months was because of what we did. Beyond the agreement was because of the relationship I developed with the leaders, and in particular with Abdul.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
All right, welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. I'm your special guest host, Carl Jackson, filling in for the great Eldersky. The number to call in, 888-971-7243, 888-971-7243. Let's take a call here. Let's go to Tom in Florida. Tom, welcome to the Larry Elder. Oh, okay. No, Tom. All right, so let's go back to the issue at hand. So basically, I talked to you about the case in the Supreme Court basically stayed the state of Texas's good Lord, the court battle. Basically, the state of Texas is going to be allowed to keep their new law that they just implemented in place, where after 6 weeks or after there's a heartbeat, usually that's 6 weeks or so, you can no longer perform an abortion in the state. And this is a huge deal. And Kamala Harris had a lot to say about it, and I shared some things, but I'm going to go back through those a little bit because I just want to make some arguments. I think this is really important. This is one of those cultural issues that for the longest time, Republicans and conservatives said we couldn't win on. But I think when people hear the facts, it's like, man, I didn't know that. For one, Planned Parenthood is the largest abortion provider in America. We know that. 78% of the clinics are in minority communities. This according to blackgenocide.org. 78%. Literally, you can go around Florida, Orlando here. You'll find them either in an area or close to an area that's not the greatest area, or an area where there's an abundance of minorities, or you'll find them now near a college campus because young people are being duped by this nonsense. But you got to remember that this was Planned Parenthood was formed, and that wasn't its name upon its inception, but it was formed by a racist lady by the name of Margaret Sanger. So blacks, we make up about 12% of the population, yet we account for about 35% of abortions, and we want to complain about cops. This is the stuff that just drives me absolutely crazy. You have to ask yourself, okay, are we being targeted? 78% of their clinics, black minority neighborhoods. To me, one of the issues it's just racist. If you go back and research Margaret Sanger and what she intended to do, if you go back and research the Negro Project, she wanted to get rid of black people under the guise of abortion, under the guise of pro-choice. This is the type of language that the left uses. They're very effective at using language, using speech, using rhetoric, so you buy into this nonsense. The fact that women will say, all right, listen, you know what? My body, my choice. Well, that's not scientific. Honestly, that argument should have been over nearly 30 years ago. With the advent of DNA, we now know that that is a very stupid and wrong argument. It's not one that could be had anymore. The moment the egg and the sperm meet, the sperm fertilizes that egg, there is a separate DNA strand that says, okay, Mom, this child happens to be in you, but it is no longer of you. This child has its separate DNA strand. And then again, I tell you, for those of you ladies that are pro-choice, all you're doing is empowering bad guys. You're empowering what we would call players. And listen, I'm going to just be straight with you. I wasn't the greatest guy always. I liked to be a player back in the day. And honestly, I got to tell you, one of the ways, and I'll just be straight, I'm going to just shoot straight with you ladies. One of the ways that I knew a lady would likely be more promiscuous is based upon her belief in abortion. Carl, that's cray. No, it's real. It's real. This is why the feminist movement the American feminist movement is such a joke to me, because they don't consider the opposite sex at all. It's just, I am woman, hear me roar, rah. Shut up. You have to consider both sexes. And I'm not saying there was an area of legitimacy for the female. Obviously, there was discrimination. I get that. I get that. That's totally real. But I'm talking about modern day feminist movement in America, Me Too, so on, etc. They're jokes. They be singing loud and proud about the women in Afghanistan, calling out to help them, yelling at Biden, protesting. They don't do that because they're fake. They're phonies. Abortion empowers players. Abortion empowers men that are up to no good. It does not empower women. That is the only way that women buy into that is when they talk with other women that exist in a bubble, or men that are liberals that are just weak, but that'll take advantage of you sexually the moment you give them the opportunity to. See, you tell men that they don't have to grow up. And women, listen, the same is true for you. Children are a blessing from God. They forced you to grow up too. But you tell men we don't have to grow up. We can use you. We can abuse you. See, you got to understand, men have a sexual drive that women cannot comprehend. Of course, there are some women out there. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there's some women out there that get it. But men overwhelmingly have compared to women, have a sexual drive that women just don't have. So you empower these men, and they'll just take advantage of you, and my protection, if you will, is abortion. I don't know why the wording escapes me right now. But you force men don't have to grow up. They don't have to assume responsibility. See, there's this rep that I look at. Listen, I'll just speak straight. I'll look at my own community, the black community, where you have over 70% of fathers out of the homes, and men should step up to the plate. But I'm sorry, the women aren't innocent. The women aren't innocent because the women got Uncle Sam taking care of them, and they don't care about catering to the man. We'll be back.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
And as far as I'm concerned, if I may, as a former insider, the key question is going to be personnel. We need to build the bench that helps staff you and doesn't subvert you. What are your plans? What would the second term look like? And who's going to build that bench for you, sir?
Well, first of all, for your listeners, you did a fantastic job. You were terrific. I deal with you a lot. And I dealt with you after you went out and made a fortune. I hope you're making a fortune anyway, but I think you are based on your ratings. But I dealt with you a lot, and that's why I do your show, and I don't do a lot of other shows. I do people that I respect and people that have been fair, and you've been really, I congratulate you. But you were very important, and the great job that you did. You have a knowledge. I heard the word strategist mentioned in the opening, that you were a strategist, and that's really what Biden needs. He needs somebody to help him because our country is embarrassed. Our country has never been embarrassed like they are right now. In the speech in Alabama, where we had a massive crowd, they say 68,000 people showed up in the rain. It was rain and thunder. And I had the idea the morning of, this was Saturday, the morning of, put up the General Patton, the opening monologue that he does in the movie Patton, which I don't know if it got the Academy Award or very close. And I think George C. Scott did get the Academy Award. But we put up the opening monologue, and I said, that is not a woke general, but it's a general that knows how to win. And we have guys that are more interested in things that have nothing to do with our military. It's really what's going on now is crazy with our whole country. What they're doing now to our country is absolutely frightening.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
How is it possible that Joe Biden let this happen? Was this intentional? Did he want our enemies to have it? It's hard to believe that incompetence could possibly let this happen. Jake Sullivan, the highly unimpressive person who's never done anything useful in his life, says we don't have a complete picture, obviously, of where every article of defense materials has gone, but certainly a fair amount of it has fallen into the hands of the Taliban. And obviously we don't have a sense that we're going to be ready to hand it over to us at the airport. The Taliban now has the
Welcome back to the Larry Elder Show. And Tom, I see your call. Don't go anywhere. You have a question that I want to ask. We only have a few minutes before the show ends, so let me get through this. And I'm going to go to Tom in Florida next here. All right, so I'm telling you, abortion is a winning issue if you know how to argue it. But it really does. It empowers. It does not empower women. It empowers men, and it stunts the growth of men. All these liberal men and all, they don't know how to grow up, don't know how to be a real man. Abortion is racist. We talked about that. The scientific evidence that's just a lie. That's an old argument. That's someone that's ill-informed, uninformed, because DNA tells us now that a baby is separate from the mother, in the mother, but separate from the mother based upon scientific DNA evidence. No one likes talking about real science anymore with this COVID crap going on. And then what you do to ladies, when you are stronger females, when you're not just out allowing men to play you like a violin, and then you get pregnant and, oh, well, I'm going to have an abortion and so on, etc. You're creating a society where men do become predators. You're having the exact opposite effect of what you thought you were having on men. And then there's this argument: SLED, size, level of development, environment, dependency. When it comes to abortion, what's the difference between myself or you in the listening audience and that egg inside of the mother's womb? Size. That is the beginning of life. I'm at a different stage of life. See, we don't have this argument when it comes to animals. We know for doggone sure, us dog lovers, when there's a puppy in our dog's belly, it's a dog. Level of development, I'm at a different level of development than a baby. Environment, I'm on the outside of the body. The baby is on the inside of the mother's body temporarily. Dependency, all right. That baby inside of the mother's womb depends on that mother a little more because it is a baby, it is a child. But as they get older, they end up like you and I, and we're self-sufficient. It's as easy as that. All right, anyway. Oh, Tom. Let's go to Tom. Tom, we have less than a minute, but you have the mic. You have a very important question. We don't have a lot of time. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, can you hear me, Carl?
Yeah, just go right ahead, Tom. I'm sorry, we don't have a lot of time.
Okay, do you remember when Trump brought pressure on China with tariffs, increasing tariffs?
I do. We got about 20 seconds, Tom.
Okay. I'm wondering if you think he can bring pressure on China through tariffs again in order to get China to help get our prisoners released from Afghanistan.
All right. Thanks for the call, Tom. Biden, that's not going to happen with Biden. It's a good call. I'll get into that more tomorrow with China. This is Carl Jackson in for Larry Elder. Don't grow worried, doing good. God bless you.